Hello, everyone. I'm Ben Stemrick, and welcome to the follow-up question. We're here to break down what's going on at City Council meetings in Allentown, the third largest city in the fifth biggest state. After a 2-week break, Council was back for another special meeting regarding American Rescue Plan funding. Now, this is the fourth meeting regarding the $57 million ARPA money and revolved around tourism entertainment. We heard from Alex Michaels, CEO of Discover Lehigh Valley, and Don Cunningham, CEO of Lehigh Valley Economic Corp. Now, if you've been following the past couple months, you know that the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs minor league baseball team is asking for $1.5 million for safety renovations. This was the meeting. We expected to hear more about that request, and although Coca-Cola Park was briefly mentioned, we didn't hear too many answers. Here's Don Cunningham on how Allentown's brand is viewed by outsiders.
We don't have, as a region, the marketing dollars that other regions have to tell our story. We still have, when we poll and we survey folks about what are their viewpoints about the Lehigh Valley or Allentown, Bethlehem, Easton, we still get very antiquated viewpoints. They may hearken back to a pop music song in the 1980s, or they may hearken back to what they'll call Rust Belt America. At the end of the day, the way to expose more folks to the Lehigh Valley, more companies to create jobs here, good paying jobs for residents, which is the ultimate way for people to rise up and to succeed, is through getting them here and understanding what's here and the attraction of our assets. And while Tyrone was talking about building new assets and smaller assets and more diverse assets, which we fully support, existing assets also, places like Coca-Cola Park, that give a region an identity, that let people have a quality of life, cultural asset that they can identify with as their home, and to continue to build those identifiers which help to brand the Lehigh Valley, which helped to brand the city.
To open the meeting, Tyrone Russell addressed the council. He's CEO of Faces International, a local marketing and development agency. And we had a chance to sit down with Tyrone and ask him about what he had to say and what he hopes to see. Okay, again, thank you, Tyrone, for giving me some time. I greatly appreciate it. This is Tyrone Russell with Faces International. Now, you had a chance last night to go in front of City Council for one of their special meetings regarding the American Rescue Plan funding that is coming to Allentown. Why don't you talk to me a little bit about not only what you said there, but why you went in the first place?
Yeah, I went, and I used to attend City Council meetings, but I haven't been there for a while. But I went yesterday because I think we severely overlooked the power of entertainment in the area as a retention tool, in particular for folks of color who are in powerful positions and who are looking to start a life here in the Valley, right? There are a lot of people who are attracted to the area, but the decision makers and the bodies that be don't really consider, at least as it pertains to Black and Brown communities, entertainment and recreation, something that they need to be concerned about, right? So I thought it was important to express a different perspective, especially as I work with these organizations here, these large corporations here who constantly say, hey, we're struggling to retain our talent and we're doing all we can within the organization, but we don't know what else to do. And a lot of times it has to do with what's going on outside of the organization, right? Where people find their rest and their recluse, and when they say, you know what, I can't find that here. So the organization isn't going to be enough to keep me here. So they leave. So I thought it was important to join in on that conversation and let them know how important it is, while they're highlighting jobs and this place that people should move to, that they should be paying attention to the diversity in their offerings as it pertains to entertainment.
And that's interesting that you say that. I feel like a lot of people, if they were told what this meeting was going to be about and that what you're going to be speaking about, they may have thought, oh, well, he's going to be pitching entertainment spots or things to do to attract people of color to Allentown. But that's not what it was. You talked a lot about the importance of the employers and how they treat employees and how they hire, and the city, and the retention, the keeping people here, instead of just saying, oh, we're Allentown and we're the city without limits. Talk to me a little bit about that, some of the things you've come to find and some of the things you discussed.
What I've come to find, right, and I've been 12, 13 years isn't a long, super long time to have been in the area, but I've done so much in this time, and I've been involved in so much, from nonprofit boards to obviously running a small business to working at Lehigh University, working at Northampton Community College, and the thread is there, seeing the exact same thing, right? So what I noticed is when it pertains to, and I have to break it up in terms of demographic, as it pertains to the white community, folks understand the importance of a diversity of options for the white community, where they go into places and white folks are just background noise. They're just background music. They're there. It's okay to be in a space and look around and say, hey, this is feeding my soul, right? They understand the importance of it. Yesterday, I made mention to Friends with Pete and why he does that, right? And he knows that people need places where they can go be seen and feel like they're a part of a community, right? So I watch folks construct these venues. I watch them construct these ongoing kind of activities for the majority, well, now the minority in Allentown, but for white folks to find that comfort because they understand the importance of it, right? Friday night, you can go somewhere at 10 and there's something for you. Every single day, every single week. You can go home at 1 o'clock if you want, because there's something where you're going to arrive and white folks are your background music. They're the decorations on the wall. So you have that comfort. But with people of color, when we bring that to the table, we're either put in the margin where they say, hey, we've seen places that are predominantly people of color, and there are places where we see fights. We see a lot of police, so on and so forth. Or you have to go on the other side and be in a space where you're in a place where, you know, white is the dominant culture, and that's where folks are supposed to find comfort. So what I've seen is a lack of attention given to the need for folks like myself to find those communities of just relaxing, having a drink, having a cigar in a high-class upscale space where people that look like me are the background noise, where they are the decorations, where I find that spirit being fed as part of the construction of it. So I think we're doing a horrible job. Even white folks want some of that. They want to be around difference now, right? And we're not really paying attention to that need and desire in our community. So I thought it was extremely important that folks pay more attention to what they think is accidental, but from my perspective is absolutely intentional in both creations, creating space for white folks and then not creating space for folks that look like me.
How do you address that lack of attention? I mean, we have this, kind of once in a lifetime wave of funding coming into the city that we're probably never going to see again. How can that really be used to address that?
I'm a huge collaborator, man. I'm a huge collaborator. I think there are things that, and speaking of Allentown specifically, I think there are things that the city and, our largest developer in the area, JB Riley, could do to say, hey, we are going to, for one, create a venue that is Black and Brown led, young professionals getting in here and helping us figure out how we create something that is going to not bring people to necessarily bring a lot of people to the Valley, but bring the people who are in the Valley looking for this out and into, these locations. So working with, the team downtown to bring folks out of the margins and into the fold and giving them the ability to actually run it, right? So I think there's some partnerships that can occur there where folks are sitting around the table to say, hey, let's build this venue. Hey, we're going to ask these folks to run it and show us how we should do it. We're not putting another beer garden or a sports bar, but there's something else culturally that other folks want that we haven't been able to design yet. So we're missing out. So I think some of these dollars can be used to help get that started, right? Whether it's renovating a building, whether it's accessing the liquor license, whether it's helping to hire manager, staff, what have you. But some of these dollars can be used to supplement some of the funding and resources that it would take to get something like that up and running in the area. But it would take for those folks to believe in the power of something like that.
It's great to have you on the agenda and you going and speaking there, but have these conversations gone past that? Has anybody from council reached out to you? I know you mentioned having spoken with past mayors. Have you had a chance to speak with Mayor Turk at all?
No, I haven't had a chance to speak with Mayor Turk. We actually spoke prior to him running about a year before he decided to really get in the race, just about ideas and thoughts, but we haven't gotten to that conversation since. But I think he would be open to that sort of conversation. I'm just not sure the Valley is a place where people are used to collaborating and thinking outside of their own comfort zones, right? I'm not from the Valley, and I travel away from the Valley often. In fact, I had to leave the Valley to get more respect for my business acumen in the Valley. Went to Cleveland, went to LA, went to Atlanta, and started a school in Cleveland, and it blew up there. And then folks are like, oh, so you really do know a little bit about business. And I had an opportunity to grow. So coming back to the Valley, I think there's some conversations that we need to reignite that we may have been trying to have 6 or 7 years ago, but now might be an opportunity to really dig deep into those. So I will be meeting with the mayor, and I would love to talk to council about how we do that, because it's a good amount of money. And to get something like this going, it doesn't take a ton of money, right? It doesn't take 18 million to do what I'm talking about doing. It doesn't take, 15 million to do what I'm talking about doing, especially in the space of collaboration. It takes a lot less. It just takes belief, in the idea, or at least trust in the people that are bringing forth the ideas.
One thing that has been a common theme throughout all these special meetings and regular council meetings over the past few months is the Iron Pigs and them asking for money for stadium and safety issues and things like that they've are trying to address. We only heard that once throughout the meeting. We only heard the name Iron Pigs once, and it really wasn't much about it at all. Is it possible that, that I feel like a lot of people are saying, oh, well, sports, people of color, therefore this is something, that falls under that, that category that you're saying, but it's far from the truth. Talk to me a little bit about that and what kind of message it would send if, the Iron Pigs were given, the millions that they're asking for, and some of the things that you're talking about are, not addressed.
I think, if we look at it from the political perspective, or the relationship and political perspective, you may not hear them speak up a lot because they already have strong relationships that speak for them already, right? In some cases, so they're like, we don't have to go too deep into this because we are who we are and they know who we are. Our track record speaks for itself. If not, we'll have a conversation tomorrow at one of the events or one of the venues that we tend to go to and have a chance to connect, and we'll talk about how we get some of that funding there, and we'll be okay. We'll scratch their back as they'll scratch ours. So that might be one of the reasons why we don't hear it as loud as we think we should, because they have a track record and they believe it's going to speak for itself. And 9 times out of 10, it does. But I think sometimes the flaw in the thinking that, hey, people of color, sports, we just add something to there, and it's for all of them, right? It's kind of that thought that's always out there in the world. It's this thought that kind of these big businesses, big white-led businesses, are kind of open to everyone, right? When we put on events, it's for everyone, right? Iron Pigs, it's for everyone. The PPL Center, it's for everyone, right? But then when folks of color are in that same position to put on large events or run venues, the thought is that, oh, that's just for people of color, right? So the flaw in that thinking is that people of color don't do things that appeal to the masses, if you will, which is an extremely flawed way of approaching work. Now, having worked in schools for 15 years, I always knew that the CAB or the student activity board would put on events, and they would say the entire campus is invited. But then they would cut a check to BSU, Black Student Union, and Black Student Union would put on an event, and CAB wouldn't necessarily promote it. They would act like it's only for BSU members, and BSU was like, wait, this event is for everyone. We're bringing Chance the Rapper. White folks, Black folks, everyone likes Chance the Rapper. Why do you think that's just for us? But there's this thought that like the Iron Pigs and PPL Center or whatever is always open for everyone. But then if Tyrone and his team came in and said, hey, we want to open up a venue, folks are like, oh, that's just for Black or brown folks because they frequent that place often. And when you get there, it's an extremely diverse crowd and it's a lot of them. So therefore it's for them and not for everyone else. So I think there's a flaw in that thinking from people in leadership positions, right? So I do think, the Iron Pigs, PPL deserve some funds because they do provide outlets for people. They do provide access and opportunities for people to get out and enjoy our beautiful city. But I don't think they're the only ones. They're not the only game in town, and they've been treated that way for a very long time. And it severely limits our ability to grow and reach markets that want to see Allentown thrive in different ways.
Tyrone, before I let you go, is there anything else that you think we need to touch on?
I will say that I witnessed a lot of talent in Allentown. And I'm a regional guy. As I said, I love collaboration. I think Easton, Bethlehem, Allentown should be better partners with one another. And I don't think it's ever going to happen because of the way folks think in this area. So along those lines, I've seen a lot of great talent, a lot of great ideas, whether it be events or even whether it be the design of venues, go to Bethlehem, right? I've watched people who are in Allentown, businesses in Allentown say, hey, we're going to do this in Bethlehem. And it's sad, right? It's sad to say you have that right here in Allentown, and yet they're choosing to go elsewhere because they're finding the political space in Allentown to be something that they can't compete with. So they're taking their talents like LeBron did to South Beach, right? To South Bethlehem and not South Beach. So I think just seeing that it's painful to witness, especially in a city that says we're trying to do better, but then they're not paying attention to how often we're losing great talent, great ideas to our neighboring cities, Easton, Bethlehem, so on and so forth.
Okay, man. Thank you, Tyrone. I really appreciate your time. Now that's going to do it for this week's episode of the follow-up question. Next week, City Council has a regular meeting scheduled for Wednesday the 20th. And remember, you can go on their website and you can watch live or old meetings. I'm Ben Stemrick, and thanks for paying attention.